power, vitality, and purpose. For more information, visit AlignedEnergyHealing.com and start your journey today.
Are you ready to heal your mind, body, and soul? Tune into the Real Healing Institute show with Michelle Sinclair every second and fourth Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com. Tap into the power of spiritual guidance to heal your beliefs, elevate your well-being, and release subconscious pain. Enter the space. Are you ready to heal your mind, body, and soul from the inside out? Welcome to the Real Healing Institute show with Michelle Sinclair, divine healer and spiritual teacher, where spiritual transformation meets practical guidance to break free from limiting beliefs, subconscious pain, and energetic blocks. This is a powerful space for those seeking true healing and enlightenment. Michelle's teachings are rooted in her deep study of the Christ letters and the spiritual awakening that came from her unwavering dedication to divine truth. She helps individuals navigate their inner healing journey through subconscious soul healing techniques and spiritual teachings by uplifting the vibrational resonance of our thoughts, words, and actions that shape the very fabric of our lives. It is time to learn the profound understandings of universal love. The Real Healing Institute show starts now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome in. I'm so excited to introduce you guys today to Jeff Broomfield. So he is a fellow hypnotist and fellow spiritual dude, and he has some amazing things that we're going to be talking about today, including not only his book, but also the work that he does with his clients. So Jeff, thank you so much for being here today. Super appreciate it. Do you want to just give us a little overview about you and who you are?
Hi, Michelle. Thanks for having me on your show today. It's really awesome being here, and I appreciate the opportunity to share what I've learned here.
I'm pumped.
And yeah, so I guess what we're talking about is the spiritual awakening and how we can awaken. And I've created a methodology to use that it hypnotically induces a spiritual awakening.
This is amazing.
Yeah, I had a spiritual awakening back in, say, 2011, somewhere around in that neighborhood. And I was letting everybody know what was going on in the world. It seemed strange to everybody. Everybody thought I was going insane, of course. And that was me. The words going through my head, you got to break it to fix it. So I got to stop believing the things that I was believing before in order to become my real true self. And that spiritual awakening caused me to totally change the way I was in my whole life. Everything that I was doing was wrong. And now here I am on this new path. And for the first little while, I was riding this high because I was connected to my soul. And it was like the most powerful experience I've ever had. And I really got to see, it felt like the universe stepped inside of me and was experiencing the world through me through that moment. And it was unbelievable power that I could feel with that. And then, normal reality started stepping in. And after a while, that whole thing wore off and all my old problems came back. And then that began the journey to get back. Because now that I know what I'm missing, I wanted to find my way back to there. And it took me a few years. Around 2015 or so, I started into NLP, which introduced me to hypnosis. I had no idea about the hypnosis at that time.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I was there for the NLP, and specifically so that I could learn how to communicate better with my family. See, the whole thing that sprung my spiritual awakening is I worked since I was 9 years old for my dad. And it became apparent that he was never going to pass over the reins to me like he always promised. And I had left the company. It was a big move. And that big crisis that I had, that's what forced my spiritual awakening. I actually had time to sit and look at the world, and everything just opened up on me. So here I am 5 years later trying to figure out how to get back there. Well, the NLP and the hypnosis, it didn't really get me there. I really did it so that I could communicate better with my family, because I thought that they were just misunderstanding me. It was me. I wasn't speaking right. And I actually went to
Mhm.
work for them for a couple years more. I'll tell you, that was soul crushing. And it wasn't until somebody had mentioned the name Dolores Cannon.
Okay.
And it was through a third party. It was my wife brought home a note that said, Dolores Canada, you're supposed to check into this. And when I did, it just blew my mind. She
Mhm.
was talking about visiting past lives. And during my awakening, I was able to step back into past lives and see them, but I had really nothing to explain it. It was just this thing that happened to me. And how do you explain that? People, they all think you're loony.
Mhm.
Then all of a sudden, here's this person that just hypnotizes people and they go and visit past lives. And then I found out she summons their soul or their subconscious and has a conversation with it. And I thought, you know, if this is true, I need to know this for myself. And so I I always been into science. I use science to figure things out because I don't trust what everybody else is telling me. I have to experience it for myself.
Mhm.
And so that's when I started experiencing this for myself, hypnotizing other people. I got hypnotized myself because you can't do this unless you do the work yourself.
Yeah.
I believe a lot of people get into this work and they're there to fix other people, and they're not there to heal themselves. And they believe they're going to fix the world around them instead of fixing themselves. Well, I don't believe that. I believe we have to do the work.
100%. Mhm.
And so there I am. I'm laying in a stranger's bed, and all of a sudden I'm overwhelmed with all these emotions. It was like a warm hug from the inside. And I had realigned with my soul again. Here I am. All the love that I had in my life that I didn't see before, all of a sudden I could see it all because all
Mhm.
of a sudden I was back in my space of love again. And that's when I found that with hypnosis, we could actually re-trigger this spiritual awakening.
Mhm.
Um,
It it's truly amazing that, it can do that. I would say very similar that had it not been hypnosis been a part of my life, I wouldn't be at where I'm at now. And you know how you're saying about, healing all the other people and whatnot, I would find because, I would imagine you probably do this too, but I would put myself into state when I was working with somebody else.
yeah.
And then, you're really just kind of channeling because it's different for every person, what it ends up coming through. But through doing the work for other people, it was healing myself as well, like in these little bits. And, I've practiced for 11 years now. So I would see all these people with these issues coming. Okay, now a couple years later, now it's all these people with these issues coming. And if I was to look back, I'm sure it was probably what I was going through and needed to heal as well. Um, Okay, so this is amazing that you do this for people. So do you want to tell us a story of like somebody who came to you and like what's happened with them, since, well, during and then since the session?
Well, there's a guy who came to me and he was completely apathetic. He had no feelings about life. It's not that he wanted to end his life. He just didn't care about life anymore.
Mhm.
Nothing. It was like nothing phased him, and it was affecting his relationships with his wife, his kids, everybody, even at work. And he just couldn't. Well, look at the world out there. When you look at the world, it's like, what's the sense of even doing anything? And a lot of people, I believe, are in that same boat. And so what we did is we go through the process. We have I call it the mental and emotional purge. I used to use the emotional detox, but I didn't find it thorough enough. It didn't take care of your toxic cords and it didn't take care of grief. And so I added those things. Now I call it the mental and emotional purge. And that clears out all the emotions that you've been hanging on to for your whole life. See, we're taught to suppress those emotions.
Mhm.
Even at Christmas time, we sing a song. You better not shout, you better not pout, you better not cry,
Ah,
right? That is
mhm.
telling you suppress your emotions or you won't
Yeah.
get any presents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
That's
Yeah.
part of our conditioning.
Yeah.
And and then when we take it that way, we think that our emotions are bad, so we suppress them.
Mhm.
Now, I have this theory that our emotions are an expression of our soul,
Mhm.
right? Mind, body, soul. How do you know you've got a mind? I think, therefore I am. That's what most people think.
Mhm.
Body, another one, pretty simple. You can touch it, you can move it around. But your
Mhm.
soul, how do people know that they got the soul? Well, what about our emotions? What are they? We're taught to
Mm-hmm.
suppress our emotions, but our emotions, when you're fully in alignment with your soul, mind, body, and soul, everything is in agreement. You have the feeling of love, joy. That's that top emotion. But when
Mm-hmm.
you are suppressing yourself, you are tuning down. I liken it to a guitar string. So the open
100%.
string is love.
Mm-hmm.
And if you press your finger somewhere in the middle of fretboard and hit a note there, right, you're starting into your worried anxiety and stuff. And if you go down to the high note at the very bottom, well, that's hate. And so love
Mm-hmm.
is the full expression. And when you suppress that love, depending on how much you suppress it, it lowers your vibration and it lowers uh your mental state at the same time, what mood that you're in, like, anxiety or hate or grief or whatever that is. It's all suppression of your soul. And so we're taught to suppress our soul
Mm-hmm.
when we're kids. We're
Yeah.
taught that we're not good enough. See, that's the whole thing about not being good enough, is that what part of us is not enough? It's the parts of us that are the soul. And that's what we're taught to suppress, because it's not seen as, well, what they want us to do is they want us to accept outside authority. They want us to behave. Our parents want us to do what we're told. And if we're listening to our soul instead and following our soul's guidance, our parents aren't going to like that so much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And now you've been doing hypnosis for a while now, and you've probably learned that from 2 to 6 to 8 years old, somewhere in there, we're in theta state.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have the critical faculty, so we can't process negatives. And so
Yes.
when your parents are saying, don't do that, don't touch that, they're saying, do that, touch that. And so you go and you do that thing or you touch that thing and you get in trouble for it. And of course, we call it the terrible twos because the kids won't listen to us. Well, the kids can't process that negative. So you're telling them to do the thing that you don't want them to do without
Mm-hmm.
even realizing it.
Yeah. And
And so
then shaming them for it.
yeah. And so in our heads, we believe that we're not enough. Something's wrong with me. I can't get it right. I need to listen to my parents. And so the whole Christmas thing, when you figure out that you can't, Santa Claus isn't real, right? You see him and you're at the mall and there's this guy, you're at a party and there's this guy, you see him on TV, he's a different guy. It's like, these guys are all different. I'm not buying the story anymore. And you ask your parents, what do? They gaslight you. Here's your lived reality. You're developing that part of the mind that is telling you that things aren't right. And so you question and your parents gaslight you and tell you, no, you're wrong.
Uh-huh.
You're going against the whole rest of the world,
Yeah.
right? I mean, what would it take for that many people to be involved in a lie?
Yeah, it's a pretty elaborate scheme that they've got going on.
Yeah.
You just saying that, I know, when I was lied to in the past, it because we intuitively know what's right and what isn't. We just know something feels off or doesn't. So when someone invalidates that what they're doing is invalidating us. Not just the thing that we're saying, but like
Yeah.
us as an individual. And yeah, when you
Yeah.
then get the truth, man, it'll set you free finally.
Definitely. Definitely. And so those are the things that have us believing that we're not good enough. And so we end up suppressing those parts of us because they let us down, our intuition.
Mhm.
And then when we finally find out that uh, we were right, we don't regain all that stuff. We already suppressed that stuff. But then we start looking at all the things that allowed us to be misled like that. And we start, okay, that was my imagination, my creativity, and stuff like that. We start suppressing all that stuff, which is
Mhm.
more of our soul functions. We suppress that and we say, you know what? I'm not good enough the way I am. I need to take outside authority to tell me what to think and how to live my life. And that leads us to the number one regret of the dying, is living a life that others expected of them.
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
This is where it all comes from, because we believe we're not enough. We
Hmm.
start listening to the outside people to tell us what we should be doing with our life. We live somebody else's purpose instead of our own purpose.
Yeah.
Right? We
Hmm.
find a boss who's got a purpose, and he'll give us our purpose for us.
Hmm.
And if you look at the WEF plans for the future, they want to instill purpose in us by giving us what our purpose is,
Yeah. Hmm.
usually to serve the system, right? Rather than serving our own purpose. And I don't know if you've been asking people what their purpose is when they're in trance or not, but I find the most common thing is to be happy, to find love, stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's
Hmm.
not, oh, I'm going to change the world by developing this new product and doing, no, it's none of that kind of stuff. It's all find your happiness, find love, be the
Hmm.
beam of light.
Yeah. And when that comes in, that is the goal. And then when you do that, then the thing that you're supposed to be doing will just come to you.
Yeah.
It might shift. Maybe that was the thing. That maybe that's all that this life was about, was loving the people who are close to you. But yeah, when you begin to love your life, like I want everyone to love their life, and if they're
Yep.
not, you need to ask yourself why. And often exactly what you just said is because you're actually living it for somebody else.
Yep.
It really is. You're doing what they think, oh, I'm making them happy. Oh, I'm here with them and this is doing something for them. And we're not doing the thing that fills us up. And so you can only do that for so long.
Yeah. I call that the outside in. The
Hmm.
outside in programming. We're programmed to listen to the outside world to tell us what to do and what to think and what to believe, rather than from the inside listening to our soul.
100%. So the outside in for you guys, this is the book that Jeff wrote. So he's actually
Mm.
written a couple of books. We'll try to link those down below. I know that they're amazing because you're amazing.
Yeah.
So tell us about this. Let's say that somebody was going to come to you and they're like, "Man, this sounds like something I need. Like I need a soul awakening type experience." How long are your sessions? What can they expect? What do they need to do to prepare? Yeah.
Well, it's 3 hours, and it starts out, you don't really need to do much to prepare, right? It can be online or it can be in person. And you're going to be 3 hours. So whatever you got to do to be comfortable, that's all you got to do to prepare. I would stay off of coffee or whatever, but when you get here, we'll talk a little bit about, what your goals are, what you're looking to accomplish. And I used to do a lot of talking about what all your questions were, and, some past life history and stuff like that. But I found that just took a long time, and it wasn't really necessary. You could get the healing without doing that, because it used to take 7 or 8 hours. Now it's down to 3 hours.
Okay.
Right.
Nice.
And so when we do the mental and emotional purge, well, I call it 4 stages. Part one is breaking the trance, because right now, and this takes us to another one of the books, Why Change is So Hard. Stop trying to change your life and do this instead is the title of the book. And we have over 100 cognitive biases that prevent us from creating change. So it's
Mhm.
kind of like your computer. When you need to upgrade your computer system, you have to restart your computer. Actually, it does it itself. It starts up in a new operating system. And then what that does is it removes the protections that it has. It was protecting all those old files, all those old programs, so that you couldn't delete them. Like if I
Mhm.
was starting to delete files when we're talking here, my computer would just crash. And so they put protections in there so that we can't do that. And then once it's done that and it's deleted all the old stuff, it puts in the new programming, and then it restarts your computer into its operating system again. And so that same way, we have protections in place. It's called the critical faculty, and it prevents us from creating change in our life. But when we go back into that trance takes us out of that protective state and allows us to remove all those old files. And so all the old emotional problems that we've been hanging on to, all the stuff that we stuffed down, it's a content-free process. So you just allow that to leave the body. It comes up through your body, rises up through the body, leaves the top of your head, and the universe places a vacuum there that sucks it all away.
Mhm.
And it's amazing. I had a client in about 10 minutes of this technique. I mean, the session was longer, but we started with past life regression. She had dissociative identity disorder. And so she started, instead of past lives, she did her personality. So I said, okay, forget this. let's go and do the detox. And 10 minutes into the detox, she comes out of it and she goes, I think it's just me in here now. Yeah.
Wow.
So years and years of
Yeah,
this
yeah.
problem gone in one session.
Just like that. Man, this stuff happens all the time. I want to scream it from the top of the world, man. If somebody hasn't tried hypnosis yet, you just have to, because you don't know what's going to come up. And man, it will change your life. Even in just one session, it'll change things.
And you don't have to experience it. If you had some horrible traumatic experience, say you're no, we're done. I won't go there. You had a traumatic experience, and you don't want to view that experience. You don't have to see it. You don't even have to know that that's what you're releasing. You just allow the emotions to rise up and leave. It can be gone in seconds. You don't have to re-experience it. Some of the old techniques, you would sit in a movie theater watching yourself from the projector room, watching yourself watching a movie, and see it go back and forth, and it's like, that's re-experiencing it again. And you don't have to do any of that. You could just release it. If people don't realize how easy it is to release it.
So do you ever ask people, because I will, what percent of it is actually even theirs? Because I know a lot of times when we're releasing things, and this is purely out of my curiosity that I ask, almost all of it, most of the time, is not even that person's. It's like they've taken on these emotions of other people, like maybe as a little kid of like, oh, well, my mom feels bad, so I need to do this. Or my, dad feels bad. And they're holding all these emotions that aren't theirs. And so they wonder why they feel that way, because, they shouldn't, but it's because they're holding other people's emotions.
Yeah, that's why I call it the outside in. It's coming from the outside.
Yeah, yeah.
All those thoughts and all those things that go on in our head all the time, those aren't our thoughts.
Yeah.
Those are other people's thoughts repeating in your own mind.
Yeah.
And we just think that they're our own thoughts, but they're not really. Most people don't know which are our thoughts and which are somebody else's. The guy with the apathy, started talking about him earlier. And he said it's like God gave him a new lease on life when it was all done. Like totally changed his whole perspective of life. And all of a sudden he's a well-adjusted person who can experience his emotions again, because he's realigned with his soul. So after we do the mental and emotional purge, that clears the way so that, like right now, your soul is suppressed under all those emotions. So once you release them, we take the journey into your light, realign with the soul. And that's when I see the smile that comes across people's faces. It's just incredible. And, the odd time somebody will start crying because I wish I knew this earlier. Well, you're learning it now.
Yeah. Timing's always right.
Yeah.
Do you notice too, you'll feel the energy shift as soon as it happens. I'll see that with, tapping or this or that. As soon as they get it, the energy in the room completely changes, and you're like, we could probably end the session right now, because the moment happened is pretty powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, it is powerful. And then from there, I have my clients talk. Like I summon the soul, or I summon the subconscious, whatever you want to call that part. And we have a conversation. I ask, what's your purpose? Why are you here? What's your mission? Those kind of questions. Who are you? So we get the full idea of the big questions. You get all those answers that most people have been looking to find out. And you can bring your own questions too. When you can do the live session, or there's a recorded session that just gets into the big questions. You can't bring your own questions to the recorded session, but to the live session, of course, you get to bring your own questions. And then from there, I like to wrap it up with a quantum jump. So there's a version of you in another reality that's already done this session and already created the life that you wish that you had. And we'll take a jump and visit that person, and then we'll ask them some questions, and then we'll download all the stuff that makes them, all their strategies, their beliefs, their emotions, all that stuff that makes them successful, so that on the inside, you become that successful version of you. And when you awaken, it's just a matter of allowing this to integrate and manifesting this reality into the real. How long it's going to take, that's individual, right?
Yeah, depends on the person. So do you like, how often, or do you usually just work with somebody one time, or are they coming back to you multiple times, or how does that work?
Most of them are one time. I just had a client who came back for a second time, and she had some issues with her eye. She had a fall, smashed her eye. The doctor wanted to do surgery on it, couldn't put glasses on her because, well, it didn't do any good for her eye. And we did a session, and within a week she went back. She was a -10, dropped to a -5. He says, we don't need to do surgery anymore. Fit her for some glasses. Now she can see again. Like,
Perfect. hmm it is amazing. That's one thing too. Like there isn't any limits. I know, I'm sure that you've seen this, right? Somebody's coming to you and they're like, I want a spiritual awakening. Cool, they get it, but they will get so much more out of it. Like just a random example with some lady working with me, she comes back and she's like, okay, I just have to ask you, like, my fingernails are growing for the first time in my life. And she was probably in her 40s or 50s and had never grown before, and was like, could that have anything to do with the session that we did? I was like, I don't know. Looked it up in my book. It was exactly what it had to do with our session. It was about healing family things and all this stuff. So, and that's what got me started, was the results that came from a session that had nothing to do with anything, but yet it changed so many things. So we're almost out of time here, but how can people get a hold of you? And tell us your book titles one more time. But if somebody wants to work with you, how do they get a hold of you?
okay, so if somebody wants to work with me, you can go to hypnoticawakening.com. And there you can either get the course, you can book an online session, or you can book a free strategy call. So
Cool.
all your options are there. You can self-serve and book yourself in. And if you can't quite decide, then we got the free strategy session.
Okay, this is awesome. And if they want to buy your books, where do we find your books?
The Outside In Theory, right now you can download it for free. I haven't finalized it yet. I'm thinking about changing the title. It's the Outside In Human Development Model. So it explains how we were put into the trance, and then it gets into what happens because of the trance, what's going on in the world today because of what happened to us, and then how we return back to the soul. So it's like the whole framework of spiritual awakening. So that's why I'm changing it, because I want to get that. It's a framework for spiritual awakening in the title.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so
this
people
is
know what it
amazing.
is. Yeah.
Yeah, this is awesome. And what's your other book called?
The other book is Stop Trying to Change Your Life and Do This Instead.
Okay.
The
Cool.
Outside In Theory book, and you can get that out outsideintheory.com.
Okay.
And the other one, typex.ca, I think, is the link for that one.
Okay, excellent. Well, we will try to get all these links down below so you guys don't have to just go search, but that you can just click and you can just find all of Jeff's stuff.
I can forward you the links too to make it easy.
That's perfect. Okay, well, thank you. Thank you so much for being on here. You're just the coolest guy, and I'm so pumped. Oh, and also, Jeff is on a symposium called Portal to the Soul that I'm working with on Gnostic TV. So when that gets out, that will be posted all over my social media, so you guys have that to look forward to. That's coming too.
Yeah, it's almost ready. I'm working on the final touches right now.
Sweet. Well, thank you so much for being here today, and this was awesome. And thank you.
Well, thanks for having me on. I truly appreciate it.
Of course. All right. Thanks, guys. We will see you in the next one. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks. Take care. Have a good one.
Thank you for joining the Real Healing Institute show with me, Michelle Sinclair. Tune in every second and fourth Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com for more empowering ways to spread love and set yourself free. Together, we'll elevate the consciousness of the planet. Stay connected. Follow me on social media, subscribe to the podcast, and explore the Mental Cleanse series on YouTube. Ready to go deeper? Book a session with Michelle at therealhealinginstitute.com. Until next time, keep healing, keep growing, and remember, love is the only way.